Right now, a weekend warm-up for some and a winter weather advisory for others. Chris is tracking rain and snow and the risk of flooding that comes along with it. And moving forward, families have a chance this weekend to meet members of the capital city's first pro soccer team and check out all the gear they'll be wearing this spring.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now This Morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this Saturday, March 9th. I'm Josh Spreiter with meteorologist Chris Reese. And it's Saturday, you know what that means.
We're doing it again,
We are
Josh.
doing it again.
We are talking the rain, the snow.
But it's warmer this time for Madison.
Yeah,
so.
at least for us, right?
Yep.
There's some silver lining. We are going to be more so on the wet than frozen side of the system coming our way this weekend, though there could be at least a little bit of frozen precipitation mixed in. But temperatures are on the warm up right now. We're at 30 degrees in Madison, and those winds are increasing out of the east and southeast as well. Now at 13 miles per hour. 34 in Janesville right now, Kenosha at 36, Milwaukee at 35, Boscobel also at 34. So you see where those temperatures are gradually working their way to being above freezing. 29 in the Dells and 23 in Camp Douglas. And that's about where our rain and snow line is going to be later on tonight. Of course, though, temperatures are still much warmer than they were at this time yesterday. Fond du Lac 21 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago, and we're really about 30 to 40 degrees warmer than, say, 48 hours ago. So we've truly seen the warm up over the past couple of days. There's more warm air across the deep south as well, all streaming its way northward. But there's also cold air over Canada that's kind of going to get involved with this system. So on the north and western side, that is where we do have winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories for the system that's going to be coming our way, perhaps upwards of a foot of snow in some of those areas. And you already see that snow starting to move in across parts of western Minnesota. But the rain to our south, that's really what is going to be stealing that show later on as we go through the morning. Stay tuned, of course. I'll time out when that will arrive, but it could be a heavy rainfall as it comes down.
You know, it could always be worse. I saw an updated snowfall graphic for my parents in Minnesota. 13 inches.
Oh my gosh. And then down south, perhaps tornadoes again today. So I guess we'll take what we have.
There you go.
Yeah,
a lot going on, Chris. We'll see in just a little bit. Well, as those temperatures rise, so do water levels across Madison. City officials are warning you of flooding concerns this weekend. You're asked to make sure your inlets in your neighborhood are clear of snow and ice ahead of today's rainfall. The last time it got this warm a couple of weeks ago, the city of Madison urged people to adopt an inlet to help keep them clear. The city does try to clear as many as it can, but with 20,000 inlets across the city, it's impossible to clear them all. Representatives from FEMA are in Reedsburg again today discussing flood recovery plans. This is, of course, in response to last summer's devastating flooding. It's the second and final meeting of the Emergency Association hosting in that city. They are looking at ways to lessen flood damage in the future, focusing on flood-prone areas near the Baraboo River.
I think it's really important when a town's leadership values reaching out to the community members and getting feedback and input, because you want buy-in from the people that live in that town so that they feel like they're guiding the future of their town.
Today's meeting starts at 10:30 this morning at Westside Elementary, and if you already attended the first meeting, officials say this one will be the same. The Madison Water Utility is reminding people to protect their pipes in what seems like a never-ending winter. Even though it's warming up, officials say it's important to remember your winter guidelines to keep your pipes from freezing and bursting. You're recommended to set your thermostat to at least 55 degrees and keep a close eye on pipes that are close to windows, doors, or other areas that are more susceptible to colder temps. Still, the city of Madison says there is no way to make sure your home is 100% safe.
Even if you might say, well, I've never had a pipe freeze before, there's always a first time, and this has been a really long, brutal winter. So it happens all the time. It's important to make sure your water pipes inside your house are ready.
There have been more than 80 water main breaks in Madison since the start of the year. 8:03 is your time this morning, and we want to let you know about some overnight closures starting this weekend along the interstate. The Department of Transportation plans to shut down the southbound lanes of I-3990 near the Wisconsin 26 interchange and the US 14 exit in Janesville. Those will start tonight at 8 and last until 5 in the morning. Those closures are expected to stretch into next week. Ramps at those interchanges will not be impacted. Several people are still in the hospital this morning after a Friday morning crash on Highway 69. 10 people were hurt, including 6 children from rural Lafayette County after the driver of the SUV they were riding in slowed down to avoid some deer. That SUV was then rear-ended by a semi. It happened between Monticello and New Glarus. The passengers in the SUV were on their way to cheer on Black Hawk at the state girls basketball tournament. The towns of Rockford and Huntley are paying their respects to a fallen sheriff's deputy after he was killed Thursday in Rockford. This is new video of the police procession escorting the body of Deputy Jacob Keltner from the Winnebago County Coroner's Office back to the McHenry County. Deputy Keltner served that county for 12 years and was acting on behalf of the U.S. Marshal's Office during this week's shooting. He leaves behind a wife and 2 children. Lake Mills Fire Captain Chris Truman will receive the American Legion of Wisconsin Firefighter of the Year award later today, 2 months after his death. Truman was killed on the Beltline on New Year's Eve after he got out of his car to help another driver who had crashed. Samuel Kramers is charged in Truman's death and appeared in court for the first time this week. If convicted, he could spend up to 6 years in prison. Meanwhile, Captain Truman's department continues to move forward, remembering a man loved by everyone who knew him.
When there's only, 5 of us sitting at the table and, you're almost expecting or waiting for, Chris to show up and be a part of that officers' meetings because he was there all the time.
The fire chief says each person has handled Truman's death differently. The department is offering group counseling, and there's an ongoing fundraiser for a new canine named Truman. 8:05 right now, and we already knew it, but now the whole country is in on our little secret. Madison is one of the best places to live. It's just the latest instance where Madison made a national list, this time compiled by the website livability.com. Madison ranked 3rd on the list released this week. We're only beaten by Boise, Idaho, and Raleigh, North Carolina. According to the site, Madison is ranked so high because it excels in nearly every category across the board, including economics, housing, amenities, demographics, education, and healthcare. 2 other Wisconsin cities made that list, Appleton at 56 and Eau Claire at 81. On the flip side, if you make more than $150,000 a year, Wisconsin might be one of the worst states to live when it comes to paying taxes. A new study by WalletHub pegs Wisconsin as the 8th worst state from a tax perspective. The agency calculated the share of a person's income on sales, property, and income taxes to figure out where folks are spending the most on taxes. For middle income earners making around $50,000, we came in at 37th. More than 2,000 people are signed up to grow industrial hemp in Wisconsin this year. That's more than a 500% increase compared to last year's inaugural crop. Those permits are to either grow or process hemp. Almost 90% of those people applying for a permit are looking to grow hemp for the very first time. While the program is generating a lot of interest for farmers here, ag experts are reminding them to be patient as the industry catches up to that excitement.
There's experimental permits and for research. So research means you spend a lot of money on a little bit. You don't make money doing research. You learn something from doing research. And so I'm hoping these people learn something and don't expect to make a lot of money.
The state agriculture department says interest in hemp grew even more once Congress passed the Farm Bill, which removed the crop from the list of controlled substances nationwide. There's an opportunity to support a program teaching inmates valuable skills while getting your hands on some fresh produce. The Rock County Sheriff's Office announced it's opening up its Recap Garden CSA again. The garden is staffed in part by the UW Extension and volunteers, so those serving sentences can learn how to plant and harvest before bringing those skills back into the real world. The CSA will include a weekly box of fresh fruits, veggies, and herbs starting in June. Applications are now being accepted, and it costs $250 for the entire season. All of that money will fund future garden projects. The city of Madison is considering plans to build a 30,000 square foot grocery store along Park Street. The development would go up just north of the Madison Labor Temple, close to the Cedar Street intersection. That lot is known as the Truman Olson site, which the city bought from the Army Corps of Engineers 7 years ago. Along with the grocery store, there are plans to build more than 50 affordable housing units and 160 parking spaces. To turn this proposal into a reality, the developers are asking for more than $3 million in financial assistance from the city. You could soon see a driverless car shuttling people to the Capitol as early as this fall. UW engineers are testing how the vehicles would work in the city of Madison. A 15-passenger shuttle like the one we saw being tested out on the campus last April will begin doing a 1-mile route going from the area near Stevens Field to Capitol Square, most likely along Main Street. The project will last a year or two to see how the vehicle handles it. The shuttle will cost around $300,000, and American Family Insurance has agreed to pay for that initial purchase. Tickets go on sale at 11 o'clock this morning for the annual Wisconsin Film Festival. The film guide was posted this week on the event's website. From April 4th through the 11th, you can pick from more than 150 diverse films, everything from American independent to international and documentary. Last year's festival brought in $1.7 million in direct economic impact to the Madison area. We'll be sitting down with two of the festival programmers live in studio Monday on News 3 Now this morning. Anticipation is building this weekend for Madison's new professional soccer team. We're now getting a closer look at the gear forward Madison FC will be wearing this spring. Players will reveal their uniforms this afternoon and hold a player meet and greet at 1 o'clock. The event was supposed to be held at the team's brand new store on East Washington, but it has been moved to Stevens to accommodate a larger crowd. Forward will play their first official home game on April 27th. Well, the pressure is on for the Badgers as the team gears up for its regular season finale tomorrow. 24th ranked Maryland beat Minnesota 69-60 last night. So that means if Wisconsin wants that 4 seed in the Big Ten tournament, they have to beat Ohio State, the 4 seed in the last double bye spot in the tournament. The Badgers' final regular season game tips off at 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. And it's a sure sign of spring at Miller Park. The tarp is off the field and the grounds crew is spending this weekend and much of the next 3 weeks working on the grass to make sure the playing surface is top notch. The Brewers' home opener is March 28th at 1 p.m. against St. Louis. 11 minutes past 8 o'clock right now and still ahead this morning. Hopefully you've made your weekend plans inside this weekend because we once again have a lot of weather to talk about as we take a live look over the Capitol. Still pretty quiet out there this morning, but meteorologist Chris Reese is tracking rain and snow moving into southern Wisconsin. His first floor forecast is coming up on News 3 Now this morning.
Well, it is a cloudy Saturday here in Madison. That is just ahead of what is to come our way, especially as we go into the afternoon. Here's a live look over the Edgewater sky camera. Right now, you do see the cloud cover and temperatures that are still at least below freezing for now. That'll be changing as we go through the afternoon as well. 30 degrees in Madison, winds out of the east and southeast at 13 miles per hour. You work your way down towards Janesville, the temperature is at 34 degrees, 36 in Kenosha, and 35 in Milwaukee. And I think a lot of us will see temperatures like that as we head into the afternoon as well. That's all a part of that next system coming in. So to the north, will stay colder, and we also do have winter weather advisories there. Down south, there are wind advisories across parts of Illinois, Missouri, and Kansas, and then severe thunderstorm watches and warnings from southern Missouri and down through parts of Arkansas and Louisiana. All of that is associated with this right here that is going to become a little bit more impressive on the radar as we go through the morning. Already heavy rain starting to develop to our south and west, and heavy snow developing to our north and west. Expect that to move in as we go through the day, eventually tapping into at least a little bit of cold air before drier air comes in and cuts things off as we head into Sunday morning. So let's plan out your Saturday. Things are dry for now. They're going to stay dry for a little bit. I think the leading edge of that rain is going to move in as we get you towards about, say, 2 o'clock or so. And initially, that's going to have some heavy rainfall with it. There's enough vertical motion forcing the air upward that I think you're going to just see some heavy rain coming down for a time. Eventually, some of that colder air starts to wrap its way on in here. That'll turn things over to at least some light snow for some. I don't think it's going to stick. Notice those temperatures are still well above freezing unless you are off to the north and west where things are around that freezing mark. That's where I do think you could see a couple inches of snowfall accumulation. And then that dry air comes in. That snow is going to stay mainly to the north. If we see any snow around the Madison area, that will certainly be short-lived. You're looking at perhaps 2 or 3 inches once you get to the Dells and points to the north. In Madison, I think this model is very much overdone, but if you do see any snow, I don't expect it to stick in any way, shape, or form. I think the bigger story is just going to be the amount of rain that we do see in this area. You're talking 3/4 of an inch up to an inch of rain on a frozen ground with a lot of snow on the ground as well. So we're talking standing water issues that could freeze again as temperatures drop, along with perhaps roof leaks and things like that, as a lot of our gutters are clogged. So be mindful of that heavy rain, and if you want to make any preparations, we do have a couple more hours before that heavy rain works its way on in here. Beyond that, the bigger story is the warming temperatures. We are talking perhaps 50 degrees on Wednesday with some lightning and thunder in our forecast too. But the moral of the story is it's a more spring-like forecast once we get through this last cold weekend. Well, at least cold weekend for now. I won't promise it's the last one though.
That is going to feel like a heat wave.
It really will. And I think a lot of folks are looking forward to it as well.
I know I am. All right,
Yep.
Chris, thank you. Well, when you set your clocks ahead an hour this weekend, emergency management officials remind you to test the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in your home. All homes and duplexes are required to have those detectors installed on every level, including your basement. The National Fire Protection Association also says it's a good time to change batteries in all of your detectors. 3 out of every 5 home fire deaths happen when a home either doesn't have smoke detectors or those detectors aren't working properly. The National Park Service announced its most popular park this week, and this year's crown goes to a new place. The Park Service area is America's most popular park. Golden Gate has had more than 15 million visitors in 2018, earning it that honor. That's about 500,000 more than the Blue Ridge Parkway, which was the 2017 champ. In total, more than 318 million people visited National Park Service sites across the U.S. last year. For decades, we've been sending tons of our recycled products to China, but now there are restrictions on what they'll take. Last year, China restricted imports of certain recyclables, including mixed paper, like magazines, office paper, junk mail, and most plastics. Now, waste management companies across the country are telling U.S. cities there's no market for their recyclables, so they have to choose between paying much more for higher rates for recycling or just throwing it all away. Right now, Americans are creating more waste than ever. We're generating 60% more waste than 30 years ago. Just about 8:19 this morning, and our winter may finally be coming to an end, but winter is just coming for Game of Thrones fans, and they're excited about this glimpse at the new season. And there are several shows and movies for you to enjoy if you're stuck inside this weekend. Will has 3 things to watch coming up on News 3 Now this morning. Welcome back at 8:22. Winter is coming, Game of Thrones fans, and this time the end is near. HBO has released a full trailer for the 8th and final season of the hit fantasy drama, premiering April 14th. It shows an epic battle lasting an entire episode and is said to be the longest battle sequence in film history. The Library of Congress is naming an award named for documentary filmmaker Ken Burns. The annual award and the $200,000 grant will be presented to a documentarian who uses original research and compelling storytelling in films about American history. Whether you're a fan of fantasies, documentaries, or another genre, our Will Loper is always watching out for you with 3 things to watch this weekend.
There's so many kids in foster care, and they're having an orientation.
Ellie, people who take in foster kids are really special. The kind of people who volunteer when it's not even a holiday. We don't even volunteer on a holiday.
New on home video this week is Instant Family.
The county puts these on because they can match a lot of kids and parents quickly.
Look at the big kids.
Everybody's avoiding them. I'm gonna go and say hi.
But they're teenagers, okay? They use drugs, and they watch people playing video games on YouTube. We're not equipped for any of that.
Hi! Just FYI, we can all hear you. It's okay. Go mingle with the kitties and don't give it another thought. Bye-bye.
Rose Byrne and Mark Wahlberg star as a couple who decide to adopt and find themselves a little bit in over their heads.
Just stay there till the fire department comes, okay?
You're just another white lady who wants to adopt charity orphans to make you feel good about yourself. Pretend mom.
We might have a little bit of a knack for this.
I beg to differ.
Instant Family is available to rent or buy everywhere now.
Everybody loves me, and I intend to keep it that way.
This week marks the 20th anniversary of Cruel Intentions.
Can you imagine what this will do for my reputation? She'll be my greatest victory.
You don't stand a chance. Even this is out of your league.
Care to make a wager on that?
I'll think about it.
Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, and Reese Witherspoon star in the film concerning a not very nice wager made between 2 rather unpleasant people.
You were very much in love with her. And you're still in love with her. But it amused me to make you ashamed of it. You gave up on the first person you ever loved because I threatened your reputation.
Cruel Intentions is available to rent or buy everywhere now.
Truck. Wiggle out. Jump. Run. Somebody.
I'm scared.
I know.
Finally, Brie Larson is a superhero in Captain Marvel this weekend in theaters, but check out one of her best past performances in Room.
Thank you to everyone who sent their good thoughts and their prayers. For 5 years, you made life in that small room, that prison, as nurturing and normal as you could.
I'm 5.
You're 5.
So old now.
You are so old now.
Yep.
A mother and son must find a way to escape a one-room shed they're being held against their will in.
Did you ever think you would be free? I hoped.
Hello, Jack. Thanks for saving our little girl.
Are we in another planet?
Same one, just a different spot.
Room is available to rent or buy everywhere now.
You're gonna love it.
What?
The world.
Happy watching. Those are the 3 things you need to watch. This is Will Loper for News 3 Now this morning.
We're getting a look at Disney's new galaxy far, far away, but this one's not on screen. Star Wars fans can visit the new Galaxy Edge portion of the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim, California, starting May 31st. Its sister land in Walt Disney World will open in late August. As Disney describes it, guests will be transported to the remote planet full of unique sights, sounds, smells, and tastes. Guests can become part of the story as they sample galactic food and beverages, exploring an intriguing collection of merchant shops, and take the controls of the most famous ship in the galaxy, the Millennium Falcon. We've got more local news ahead this morning, including how soon we could see driverless cars in Madison. And it all starts at home. We'll show you what it's really like to be a mom in America compared to other parts of the world. Thanks for watching News 3 Now this morning. Right now, we're the only developed country without a federally paid parental leave program. What it's really like to be a mom in America.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning and thanks for staying with us on this Saturday, March 9th. It is 8:30 right now. I'm Josh Breiter. Meteorologist Chris Reese is talking rain and snow in his weekend forecast, but first here's what's making news this morning. Lake Mills Fire Captain Chris Truman will receive the American Legion of Wisconsin's Firefighter of the Year award later today. Truman was killed on the Beltline on New Year's Eve after he got out of his car to help another driver who had crashed. Samuel Kramers is charged in Truman's death and appeared in court for the very first time this week. If convicted, he could spend up to 6 years in prison. Meanwhile, Captain Truman's department continues to move forward. The department is offering group counseling, and there's an ongoing fundraiser for a new canine named in Truman's honor. Representatives from FEMA are back in Reedsburg today to discuss flood recovery plans. This in response to last summer's devastating floods. It's the second and final meeting the Emergency Association is hosting in that city. They're looking to lessen the flood damage in the future, focusing on flood-prone areas near the Baraboo River. That meeting starts at 10:30 this morning at Westside Elementary. If you already attended the first meeting, officials say this one will be the same. More than 2,000 people are signed up to grow industrial hemp in Wisconsin this year. That's more than a 500% increase compared to last year's inaugural crop. Those permits are to either grow or process hemp. Almost 90% of those people applying for a permit are looking to grow hemp for the first time. The state agriculture department says interest in hemp grew even more once Congress passed the Farm Bill, which removed the crop from the list of controlled substances nationwide. Well, you have a chance to meet members of Madison's first ever pro soccer team today and get a look at the gear they'll be wearing this spring. Forward Madison FC will reveal their uniforms along with a player meet and greet this afternoon. That event was supposed to be held at the team's brand new store on East Washington, but has been moved to Bree Stevens to accommodate an expected large crowd. Forward will play their first official home game on April 27th. Every day feeling a little bit more like spring out there, Chris, and today is another one of those days.
That's right, Josh. Temperatures are already at 30 degrees this morning. It's been a while since we've been able to say at least that one. Typically, our afternoon highs have been colder than where we are now, but we're going to see those temperatures continue to warm up as we go through the day, folks. 34 in Janesville right now. Same for our friends in Boscobel. Prairie du Chien now 1 degree above the freezing mark. Now, where things are cold are just to the north. 31 in the Dells, 26 in Wautoma, 27 in Camp Douglas. I do think we're going to stay just a little bit colder there, but still, we are substantially warmer than we were at this time yesterday by at least 10 degrees in a lot of spots. So it generally feels a lot warmer. And that warmth is working its way on up from the southern tier of the country. It's going to try to get closer. The problem is, it's going to run into a little bit of traffic, so it's going to take it until next week to truly get on into the upper Midwest. But then you have places like Glasgow, Montana at 5 degrees right now. That cold air will actually work its way into this system a little bit on the northwestern side. For that reason, there are winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings just to the north and west of Madison. For us, it's mainly going to be a very cold rain, but we're tracking that as it begins to work its way into the upper Midwest right now. Heavy rain throughout parts of southwestern, or shall I say west central Illinois right now, and that heavy rain is all going to be moving its way in our direction as we go through the morning and towards the afternoon. So as you plan ahead, I do think we're going to stay cloudy up until about lunch to 2 o'clock, and then some heavy rain is going to work its way on in. Temperatures at that point should be around 35 to 36 degrees, Josh.
Chris, thank you. It is 8:34 right now. Longtime Jeopardy game show host Alex Trebek announced this week that he is fighting stage 4 pancreatic cancer. New numbers this morning from the American Cancer Society show just how deadly that disease can be.
This week, I was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Now, normally, the prognosis for this is not very encouraging, but I'm going to fight this, and I'm going to keep working, and with the love and support of
The American Cancer Society says pancreatic cancer is the third leading cause of cancer-related death in the United States, killing more people than breast cancer. Just 3% of people with stage 4 pancreatic cancer will still be alive after 5 years. A big part of why pancreatic cancer is so deadly is that it's difficult to detect early. Trebek said that he is aware of the low survival rates, but he said in a lighter tone that he still has 3 years left on his contract. Whether you are one or have one, moms are some of the most underappreciated workers in our country. And as CBS's Alex Wagner reports, the U.S. is the only developed nation without a federally paid parental leave program.
Why so fussy?
Before Finley arrived 4 weeks early via emergency C-section, Hannah Cardin did her best to prepare.
Do you love him?
The Massachusetts emergency room nurse and mother of two took on extra shifts and even cashed out part of her 401k plan at a penalty to keep her family afloat during her 12 weeks of unpaid maternity leave.
Since everything that has been taught to me, no matter what happens, you never touch your retirement account because that's your account for later on. It's something that I had to do.
Even that wasn't enough. Cardin's husband lost his job, her income tax refund was less than expected, and with just $500 to spare, she must now go back to work early, 10 weeks after giving birth to a premature baby.
You scrimp, you save, you try and get everything lined up, and the best laid plans aren't working out.
Yeah.
What's your feeling about that?
It's definitely a defeating sort of feeling. You know, I definitely wanted to spend those extra 2 weeks recovering, being with my family and getting things in order.
Across the country in California and a world away, Marquita Staples Green is getting ready to welcome her second baby girl. As with her 1.5-year-old daughter, Emerald, Staples Green will take 26 weeks of fully paid leave offered by her employer, software firm Adobe.
And by the time I went back to work, I was ready, I was prepared. I had some time also to think about, here are some of my goals, and here's gonna be my new normal as a working mom. I feel completely grateful, but I really wish that this was the norm.
Only 16% of Americans have access to paid leave through their employers, which is why so many women need to secure infant care within weeks of giving birth. Policymakers on both sides of the aisle are trying to change that.
There is a crying need.
The Democratic-sponsored Family and Medical Insurance Leave Act would give workers 12 weeks of partially paid leave funded by a payroll tax.
I'm not in favor of mandating this.
Republican Senator Marco Rubio is taking a different approach.
It's an option that people can use to sort of draw on their retirement savings from Social Security early. But it's certainly better than having to max out your credit cards or going on public assistance and leaving work, which is what a lot of people have to do.
It sounds like you see this almost as a sort of emergency situation and this as an emergency solution.
Well, it's certainly an emergency situation for someone who finds themselves 6, 7, 8, 9 months pregnant and realizes, I'm going to have to miss 2, 3, 4 paychecks. There aren't many people in America that can afford to do that.
Economists say paid leave programs have important economic benefits like keeping women in the workforce who then can earn higher wages down the line. And a majority of Americans do support the idea of paid leave. It's only when costs are considered, whether it's higher taxes or a decrease in future benefits to pay for the leave, that enthusiasm decreases.
How about that?
In the meantime, Hannah Cardin is doing what she can to make sure her family thrives.
Eventually, you just kind of have to continue living with what you have. So if I completely harped on the fact that there's no mandated maternity leave, and I completely harped on the fact that, you know, our finances aren't necessarily where we wanted them to be, and the fact that I'm going back to work 2 weeks early, if I really harped on those things, and I could, I wouldn't get the things that I need to get done.
Right.
And
you're getting it done.
Exactly.
CBS's Alex Wagner reporting. 8:39 right now. Are you looking for something to do this weekend? Well, we've got some ideas for you and the family. From some boot-stomping bluegrass fun and an early St. Patty's Day party to several shows at the Overture. We have it all coming up in the 6:08 on News 3 Now this morning.
We are tracking the next system moving our way, going to bring with it a lot of rain and a lot of wind, especially as we go through the rest of the afternoon and into tonight. Look for that heavy rain to begin to arrive right around 2 o'clock.
All right, Chris, it looks like it's going to be another weekend inside, that is, and it's also the weekend in the 6-0 weight. And here's what we got going on in and around the area. First up, there are 3 entertainers happening tonight at the Sylvie. 2 bluegrass bands making names for themselves share this evening's bill. Horseshoes and Hand Grenades, the band that came together at UW-Stevens Point in 2013, is joined by Colorado's Yonder Mountain String Band. A fast-fiddling all-night jam session is in store for fans of both. Fireside Collective opens for this one starting at 7.
And pull out your green for this one. You can celebrate St. Patrick's Day a week early by seeing Gaelic Storm rock the Barrymore.
I can't even do that. I don't even know what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh. You should have seen us last week. Hey, this band, though, formed back in 1996. They have been touring ever since, and they are known for their modern twist on traditional Irish and Scottish music. They also mix in a little rock and bluegrass as well. So that show starts at 7:30.
While the children are back at it again, Tibet Through the Red Box is the latest production from the Children's Theater of Madison. Based on the book by Peter Siss, the show tells the twisting tale of a father and son separated during an avalanche. The play features Tibetan culture and music and is geared towards teens. Today and tomorrow there are 2 shows at 2:30 and then another show, or one tonight at 7, and then next weekend as well, and all of them are at the Overture.
And a couple other quick mentions. The Madison Symphony Orchestra is also playing at the Overture this weekend, and the Black Art Matters will take place across the street at the Central Library. That'll be all day today.
All right. Be sure to pick up this copy of Madison Magazine for all of the best in and around the area. I think I got a workout in just from the tap dance in there. All right, so it's Saturday, and that of course means we're talking about another storm, right? But this time we're on the warm side of things, which is kind of a nice change, I guess.
It's a trend in the right direction for our weekends, right? So things are calm out there at the moment. Lots of cloud cover, but I'm tracking the timing and how much rain a lot of us could see coming up next.
All right, but first, happy birthday to Braxton, Riley, and all the other kiddos turning the big 3 today. Thanks for celebrating with us on News 3 Now this morning.
Well, we're starting to see those temperatures get closer to the freezing mark. We're at 30 in Madison, still though 34 in Janesville, 32 in Monroe, same for Mineral Point, Platteville, and Dubuque. So as we begin to push forward through the morning, I do think we will see more and more of those temperatures working their way above freezing. Even the Dells at 32 right now, in Watertown also at 34. That's why we are not under any kind of winter-related advisories here, just because as our next system begins to move into the picture, we should be warm enough for mainly a rain event here across south central Wisconsin. Just to the north, though, winter weather advisories along with winter storm warnings. To the south, we have plenty of wind advisories along with some severe thunderstorm watches and severe thunderstorm warnings. So this is a very powerful system that is going to be impacting a lot of the country, and we're already starting to see some of that heavy rain move its way on into parts of Illinois right now. Some of that heavier snow taking place across Minnesota. If you have travel plans up that direction, or maybe you have family in that direction, you're going to start off as a wintry mix early before that transitions over into some pretty heavy and wind-driven snow, especially as we go through the rest of the afternoon and evening. You can see that transition taking place. We're going to be in all rain for us in Madison for the most part, but I do think we might tap into just enough cold air to change things over to some snow, at least briefly. In fact, hour by hour, here's the leading edge of that precipitation. Right around 2 o'clock, it'll be some heavy rain at times. Here we are at 6 o'clock, the temperature 38, but that's about when I do think we could start to see some of that colder air moving into the picture, at least initially, before the drier air works on in. We might be dealing with lingering flurries at that point once we get beyond that. So in terms of accumulated snow, most of that's going to be well north and west of Madison. I don't think we're going to see any kind of snow stick on the ground for us, but we are going to see a lot of rainfall, perhaps upwards of an inch of rainfall in some spots. And with the frozen ground, it's not going to be able to go pretty much anywhere. So we're going to be dealing with standing water, perhaps some roof leaks and other issues that come with that. But the bigger story is not the shot of colder air that comes behind it, but the warmth that finally works its way on in, especially as we get you towards the middle of the week. We are talking temperatures perhaps right around that 50-degree mark. Also, don't forget to spring forward an hour later on tonight. Ernie in Madison might have to be my spirit animal. Looks like he's been playing out in the snow. So I will admit, even though I'm a little tired of it, I still like it. And so if you're out walking your dog, still a little bit of snow on the ground. Just try not to get too wet.
I think you need a little Ernie.
I might have to get one.
All right, time for a hashtag My Morning. And Lois sent us this picture of Cave Point. You can see the little rainbow there. Oh, yeah. Beautiful shot. That's a great one. Thanks for sharing, Lois. What does your morning look like? Take a picture, post it to our social media pages using the hashtag MyNews3Morning. Well, most people don't want to end up in the hospital, but this week, one Rockford woman said that's exactly where she wanted to be. 1 year ago, Emily Miller suffered from a stroke. She was just 28 at the time. Doctors at UW Hospital saved her life after she was med-flighted from Rockford. As a way to give back on her 1-year anniversary, she spent Friday giving comfort kits to patients in the neuro ICU.
I just decided to do it. I want to say like June or July. I just said, hey, like, why not?
Emily was able to pass out about 40 care kits to patients and their families. I love that story. We have more local news tonight at 6 and 10, and then join Chris and me tomorrow morning. Hey, 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 if you've ever been to the Badger hockey game, you know that cheer. We'll introduce you to the man behind it. But first this morning, crafting custom-made smiles. We'll meet the Wisconsin woman in the business of making other people happy through the dolls she makes. This is News 3 Now this morning. Stay with us. Welcome back at 8:55. Using fabric, thread, and stuffing, one Wisconsin woman has mastered the craft of custom-made smiles.
Adriana Diaz shares her story.
This used to be Amy Gendrusovit's dining room.
Now it is the doll workroom.
The dolls Amy makes by hand aren't just playthings. They're partners for kids who don't often see themselves represented in the world.
A lot of people see dolls and they think, oh, they're just toys.
And I would tell you, look at these videos.
That's a very special
That baby has a leg like you.
Children with limb differences, prosthetic braces, and Treacher Collins.
It makes them not feel so alone. So their logical brain knows that this is just a doll, but the very innocent child part of them still feels like, now I'm not the only one that looks this way.
I have one hand and she has one hand.
9-year-old Bella Zizzo has loved little Bella since she was 5.
How did you feel when you got her?
Well, I kind of felt very excited because, like, most people don't get a doll that looks like them.
Did you ever think you would ever find a doll like Bella?
No, honestly, I didn't.
Amy was once a social worker and used so-called play therapy to help kids through tough times using dolls. But in 2014, she changed that with A Doll Like Me. It took off on Facebook, and through GoFundMe, strangers can sponsor dolls, which cost $75 to $100 to create.
He has crazy hair, his doll has crazy hair.
Stacy Cefalu's son Chase is nonverbal. He loves to smile and really loved our camera equipment.
Just to see his face when we opened it and he just kept looking at it.
We're gonna change the narrative for these kids. And the more we see it, the more we talk about it, the more regular it will become for kids like Bella.
Sewing change so kids can play in a world that looks like them. Adriana Diaz, CBS News, New Berlin, Wisconsin.
Always a reason to smile, right?
Absolutely. A beautiful story there. Still, you can smile about the weather. Although it's going to be rainy this weekend, it could always be worse. Blizzards to the north, more tornadoes to the south. So in many ways, we did luck out here. Don't forget to spring forward later on tonight. We don't want to be late coming in tomorrow. I am talking to myself. Josh knows the struggle there. Excuse me. But we'll see those temperatures warming up, especially as we get you towards the middle of the week. Perhaps the first 50-degree temperature of 2019 and maybe even the first rain and thunder.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Chris, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Spring forward tonight. Make it a great Saturday.